I was 5 years old when I first realized our family was different. It wasn't the mansion with its sprawling gardens or the fleet of luxury cars that gave it away. Those were simply my normal. It was a comment from a classmate during a play date. "Your house is like a castle." Her wide eyes as she took in our marble foyer made me see my home through someone else's perspective for the first time. My name is Alexandra Westbrook, and I was born into the kind of wealth that most people only glimpse in movies. My father, Richard Westbrook, built his fortune in commercial real estate, while my mother came from old money, the kind that whispers rather than shouts. Our family name adorned buildings, hospital wings, and university halls across the city. Childhood in the Westbrook estate was a curious mix of privilege and pressure. While other kids worried about getting the newest video game, I took lessons in equestrian sports, classical piano, and 3 languages before I turned 10. Summers weren't spent at local pools, but at our villas in the south of France or on our yacht cruising the Mediterranean. Christmas meant lavish parties where politicians and celebrities mingled, and I was paraded around in designer dresses, taught to charm and network before I even understood what those words meant. My private school was exclusive even by elite standards, a place where family legacy mattered as much as academic performance. I was surrounded by children from similar backgrounds, creating an insulated bubble where $500 allowances were considered normal and vacations were compared by which private island had the better beach. By my teenage years, I had developed a carefully crafted persona, poised, articulate, and immaculately presented at all times. The unspoken family motto was clear: Westbrooks excel, Westbrooks lead, Westbrooks never show weakness. The weight of expectations was suffocating. My father expected me to follow him into business, perhaps marry the son of one of his associates, and continue building the dynasty. But beneath the polished exterior, questions were forming. I noticed how staff in our home were treated as invisible, how my parents' friends spoke disparagingly about ordinary people, how problems in our family were solved with money rather than conversations. There was an emptiness to our massive home, echoing hallways filled with expensive art, but little warmth. When I was 16, a school community service requirement took me to a youth center in a part of town I'd never visited. Working alongside kids who faced real struggles, hunger, unstable homes, lack of health care, shattered something in me. Their resilience and genuine connections with each other stood in stark contrast to the superficial relationships I'd grown accustomed to. One boy, Marcus, asked me why I always looked so sad when I had everything. I didn't have an answer. That summer, instead of joining my parents in Aspen, I volunteered at that same youth center. My parents were horrified, concerned about safety, appearances, and my wasting time when I could be doing prestigious internships. But for the first time, I felt I was doing something real. I helped create an arts program, using connections to secure donations of supplies and even get some local artists to teach workshops. College brought the expected friction. My parents had mapped out my Ivy League business degree, but I chose a different path: social policy at a university known for its public service rather than its prestige. The arguments were explosive. Threats to cut me off financially followed, though they were never carried through. Instead, my parents settled into a disappointed silence that was almost worse than their anger. The irony wasn't lost on me that my privilege allowed me to rebel against it. I could pursue a less lucrative career because of the safety net I had. I became acutely aware of how many doors opened simply because of my last name, even as I tried to distance myself from it. After graduation, I took a position at a nonprofit focused on educational equity, a choice that baffled my parents' social circle. They would say she's going through a phase, they would say at parties, as if caring about inequality was something I would outgrow. Meanwhile, I was confronting my own complicity in systems that had always benefited me. My relationship with money remained complicated. I felt guilt using my trust fund, but recognized the hypocrisy of pretending to struggle when I could access wealth at any time. Eventually, I found middle ground, living comfortably but modestly, while directing significant portions of my inheritance to community initiatives and using my network to advocate for systemic change. Family gatherings became a delicate dance of avoiding politics and defending my life choices. My father couldn't understand why I wouldn't take my rightful place in the family business. My mother worried about my lack of suitable marriage prospects. Yet slowly, something shifted. My younger brother, Thomas, started asking questions about my work. My mother hesitantly agreed to tour the community center I helped establish. 10 years on, I've made peace with the contradictions of my life. I can't change the circumstances of my birth, but I can acknowledge both the unearned advantages and the genuine constraints it brought. I've learned that wealth insulates but also isolates. It opens doors but narrows perspectives. It provides freedom but imposes expectations. The true richness in life, I've discovered, isn't found in bank accounts or family names. It's in the authentic connections formed when status falls away. It's in working alongside people from all walks of life toward shared purpose. It's in the humility to recognize that having everything handed to you often means missing out on the growth that comes from struggle. I still carry the Westbrook name, but I'm redefining what that legacy means. And in that redefinition, I've found something my privileged upbringing never quite provided: a sense of purpose that's truly my own.